Bloody Rose targets another liar, and it seems like we remove a suspect off the list in Pretty Little Liars Summer School episode 4. Kristen here, let's break it down. After being attacked by Bloody Rose on her birthday, Mouse finds out from her grandmother that a friend named Rose is supposedly the one that told her to take her to Rosie Ricotta's. Honestly, I'm getting scared for Mouse's grandma. The girls want to have an emergency session with Dr. Sullivan after the attack, but it turns out she's been in a minor incident herself. Someone pushed her down the stairs and she's in the hospital. I thought it was very interesting that she specifically called out that she thinks this was a former patient of hers that did this, and if that person could tie back to who Bloody Rose is. Speaking of Bloody Rose, Mouse is afraid that she's the one that kind of jump-started this whole urban legend after posting online about Archie's mask and other things that only people involved in last season's incident would know. This leads to our first big revelation that this really might not be the actual Rose Waters under all these bandages. So she turns to Spooky Spaghetti to see if she can find the real Rose. And together, Mouse and Ash go on a little motorcycle adventure to scope out all the areas where people think they've seen her. Now that Bloody Rose has their phone numbers, you always get a little bit on edge when you see an unknown call. Luckily, when Tabby gets one, it's the Pittsburgh International Festival of Terror. They saw a lot of potential with her first short film and want to see if she has anything else to submit. With Christian support, she and the rest of the liars put together a whole production at the Orpheum based off this idea of like Jaws in a movie theater with a psychotic projectionist. I gotta say, I did like how Christian was like, Tabby, you could be the star of this movie. You have movie star beauty, and who doesn't want to see more black final girls? You know, he's getting on my good side. And while it was fun to watch everyone come together to make this movie, it also is triggering for Tabby because the idea is one that she brainstormed with Chip. They end up submitting the film, so crossing my fingers, it makes it into PIFT. Although, I don't know, I have this like little inkling that could be totally wrong, but what if the film ends up getting tampered with by Bloody Rose and then what gets submitted is not actually her film? I guess we'll see what happens. Moving over to Imogen, she gets put on babysitting duty this episode when the Winters ask if she can babysit her biological daughter when they have a family emergency. She gets scared while she's there and invites Johnny over to keep her company, but girl is running all over this house with the baby in one arm and a knife in the other. It just seemed super dangerous, especially when Johnny just walks into the house. I'm like, Imogen, with everything going on, why is the front door not locked? That just seems like horror movie 101, but Imogen is spiraling and Johnny is really there to support her. Despite everything she's dealing with, they continue to bond, and this episode has not one, not two, but 3 pretty big liar kisses that are starting to solidify relationships and maybe break up other ones. Meanwhile, after getting prank calls at Pinball Pizza, Noah ends up skipping work and they go hang out at Jen's rich father's house, which seemed suspicious. I'm like, is this really her dad's house? I just don't feel like Jen is good for Noah. Like, whenever they're together, they're getting into some type of trouble. You know, they're drinking and hanging out at this house and planning bling ring heists. And then Jen ends up getting arrested and calling on Noah to help bail her out, who then calls on Sean, her boyfriend, to borrow $2,000, and then she ends up repaying him by cheating on him. I feel bad for him, but I think my favorite couple right now and the strongest couple is Mouse and Ash. Let's dive into Kelly. We see her in this episode start to get a little rebellious. She's starting to have a bit of doubt about Redemption House and what that really is and will it hurt people. And then when she finds out her mom is having an affair with the pastor, oh my gosh, she like goes off the rails. She's like, all right, you know, I'm gonna go spend the evening at the pool with Greg. And when she gets home, her mom is going full Margaret White from Carrie. Kelly ends up getting knocked out. When she wakes up, she's in this room of like religious paraphernalia. There's a photo with her dad's face crossed out. It just seemed very dark and suspicious, and I wonder if she's being brainwashed by her mom. Meanwhile, Faran's like, I've been getting strong, I'm tough, I can take down Bloody Rose, which I kind of get. After a while, I think, of being chased by crazy villains, I would be fed up. And you ever see that episode of Hey Arnold where he's like, oh yeah, I'm crazy, try to mess with me, hit me, I'm crazy. Like, that's how I feel like I would be after being, you know, hunted down by A and Bloody Rose and just being sick of it. Like, really, like, come for me. You think you're crazy? I'm crazier.
Don't hit me! I hit me! I'm crazy!
And so she's ready to go toe-to-toe with Bloody Rose. She ends up at this construction site. She sees this note from her, and her challenge is to hold up this metal beam for 2 hours. And if she can't do that before the clock runs out, someone that she loves will die. Honestly, I gotta say, this seemed a little bit like a weird request. I feel like we're getting a little like Saw-like do this challenge to see if you can make it out. But Faran, in her cool girl hokas, is able to do it. And then Bloody Rose comes out ready to attack. Faran is like weak from having held this thing up for so long, but she's gotta run and jump over this fence. While Farron's been facing Bloody Rose's challenge, Mouse has gotten a lead that the real Rose Waters is in Tent City, which is this homeless community living under a bridge. They go to find her and confront her, and she ends up jumping into the river. I was like, did this woman just like kill herself? I don't think she did. I think she just like jumped into the river to get away. And then they go through her things to confirm that she is the real Rose Waters. And they find her file from the Radley Sanitarium, OG Pretty Little Liars reference, which shows that Dr. Sullivan, another OG Pretty Little Liars reference, was her doctor. So this is really huge news because yes, there could be multiple Bloody Roses running around, but I feel like this pretty much confirms that Rose Waters is not a suspect anymore. She is alive. She didn't have the skin on her face pulled off and turned into a mask by her son. She's not the Bloody Rose that's targeting these girls. So then how does this all connect back to Bloody Rose? I wish we had a little bit more concrete direction on what Bloody Rose's motives are. A was all about justice, whereas Bloody Rose is putting the liars through these final girl tests to prove themselves, but why? This does put a lot of suspicion back on Dr. Sullivan, because not only does she have a connection to Rose, but she's also been seeing them in therapy so she can use everything they've said to her as ammo. But I guess if Rose Waters isn't Bloody Rose, then like, why would Dr. Sullivan care? Kelly's mom is also very creepy in this episode. It makes me wonder more about the church and Redemption House, and maybe she does want revenge. I mean, she lost one of her daughters, she lost her husband. Could she be brainwashing Kelly to be Bloody Rose? And then I was trying to think about who would care about the final girl status of it all. You know, Tabby, Kristen, those are the people that love horror. Wes, even though we haven't seen much of him this season. It also made me think of Chip's mom. I mean, she has a vendetta against Imogen and Tabby, and maybe Chip got his love of horror from her. I also just still have been thinking about Imogen's nightmares that she's been having about her mom and Bloody Rose, and I just feel like there's something important there, especially when you take a look at that really cool poster that they dropped for this season that's very like midsummer Yellow Jackets-esque. In fact, I want to bring it up now and kind of break it down a little bit of the things that I've noticed and seen that I feel like could be foreshadowing things, especially based off what we've seen so far. So last week's episode was Mouse's birthday, and we see Mouse's figure surrounded by fire, which Rosie Ricotta has caught on fire. The picture that represents Faran, we see her with this big wood log on her back, and in this episode, we saw her literally holding up
this metal beam. This could also represent the metaphorical weight on her shoulders. There's also a suspicious eye, and the fact that she has blood on her hands, that's a very specific phrase that could be a clue as to who wants revenge on her.
The picture of Noah has her with bloody feet with like thorns in them, and it looks like she's running on roses, and there's like a dog or a wolf chasing her.
And there's already a photo from this season of Noah standing on what looks like a path of roses.
The photo with Imogen really intrigues me, and it makes me think it connects back to her dreams in some way, because we see the Bloody Rose crown on the figure that she's with, and then there's like this blood unraveling, and then there's the angel wings and the cut arms, which seems like it would represent her mother. Are we unraveling something here that connects Bloody Rose and Imogen's mom? And then taking a look at Tabby, you have Bloody Rose and A with these knives. You also have this other figure with a skull mask. I wonder if that could connect to the religious cult. And, you know, with these knives and the fact that there's this like little altar of roses that she's like sort of praying to, I'm like, is that some kind of sacrifice? And then even the masks around her I feel like could connect back to Christian and the special effects masks that he makes. So I don't know. It's got me a little suspicious of him now. I just feel like there's a lot of hidden Easter eggs in this poster, some that we've already seen come to life, and some that I think are going to be happening moving forward. There's just so much to dive into, so let me know your thoughts and theories. Consider subscribing if you like this video, and get even more entertainment news at popcultureplanet.net. See ya!